Welcome to Speaking Cinema, serious movie Jibber Jabber, a movie podcast, coming to you live on the Hollywood shores amidst a torrid love affair in Hollywood, California. Follow us on social media at Speaking Cinema. This is Jibber Jabber every single Monday on your favorite podcatcher, the software that holds podcasts. I'm your host, Captain Dynamite, Jibber Jabber. Hosting with me today, as always, the beloved crooner with the shady mop connections, Frank. No, wait, Kevin.
Oh, could it be? Is it true? Probably.
This season of the Jibber Jabber, we're letting the girls get a little revenge on us. It's our grab by the girly spectacular. To elaborate, we are both males. This has been documented.
Indeed.
That's our gender assignment and our gender identity.
Yes.
In cohesion. Gender, fluid concept of us, as we all learn. We tend to do more male-centric movies for this podcast. If you don't believe us, please look at the
70 some odd episodes.
And there's some real boy talk going down.
Major.
Much to the chagrin of our respective girlfriends. So, we're giving them the movie picking reins. We're handing them over to them, and we're going to do some choice films all about all kinds of girly nonsense.
Yeah, we're going to do lady pictures and movies directed by ladies.
Right. And now, obviously, this is not speak on behalf of ladies. Ladies have lots of interests all over the place, right? Growing up as a kid, I didn't know one girl who was into Star Wars, and now every girl I know grew up with Star Wars. So I think the fact of the matter is, I just that evidence speaks that I grew up in a terrible place with a bunch of trash fire people. But here we are. So we let our girlfriends pick the movies, and kicking it off this week, the boldest book of our time. Honestly, fearlessly on the screen. Bizarre tagline for 1953's From Here to Eternity. Kev, From Here to Eternity, our first movie.
From Her to Eternity. Great song by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Great album by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
Nailed it. Starring Burt Lancaster, Montgomery Clift, Deborah Kerr, and Frank Sinatra, old Frankie S.
Old Blue Eyes.
Chairman of the Board, directed by Fred Zinnerman. Written by Daniel Teradash. Why do I never look at these names before we do? I just struggle through this every time.
If you want to come up with interesting names, just look at the credits of movies. There's some interesting names out there.
Some real characters out there.
Yep.
From Here to Eternity is based on the novel by James Jones, produced and distribution by Columbia Pictures, now known as Sony Pictures.
Yes.
If you're not familiar, the film follows the tribulations of 3 Army officers and their ladies stationed in Hawaii in the weeks leading up to the Pearl Harbor attack.
There you go. That's it.
Rumor has it that Sinatra got his role in the film because of his connections to the mafia. This has been denied by all involved in the production, and if you're a conspiracy theorist, that's all the proof you need.
Exactly.
Right? The absence of proof, that's proof.
That's proof.
It did inspire the Johnny Fontaine subplot in The Godfather, which, if you're not familiar, if you are unaware of that, it's kind of it's just this bizarre
it's sort of
element of The Godfather.
It's right at the beginning of The Godfather, and it sets the tone for. It shows you what the family is capable of.
So if we were to believe the stories, R.I.P. that horse.
Yep.
Ruiner of fine sheets, runner of many lengths, and
prolonger of terrified screams.
Yes. So
it's a real horse head. Right.
Well, how'd they get it?
From a dog food factory.
Lots to unpack in that. So, dead horses are turned into dog food?
I mean, I don't think they do that anymore, but...
maybe, I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah, it was, that's what they did with horses that passed on. Their meat was used for dog food.
I mean, I guess in the sense of if you're making a bunch of dog food up, right, and there's like wheat and chicken and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, yeah, someone's racing horse dies. It's like, well, throw it in here. Let's not let it go to waste. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they had already filmed the scene where they're showing the movie guys his stud racing horse that he has, and then they went to the dog food factory and found a horse that kind of looked like the horse they already filmed. And said, "We'll take it." So
that scene works really well, but when you think about it, how the fuck? So we're saying that some mobster guys tiptoed in the middle of the night with a severed horse head, which is huge, and then put it in the bottom of his sheets.
Yep.
and then he wakes
Just
up,
let it bleed all over.
and he wakes up, and it's like there's a lot. The scene works because they cut it at the right point, but if there's any elaboration on that, it makes no sense.
Yeah. Well, and it's such a shocking reveal the way.
Yeah.
Talking Godfather talk here. So
back to here from from here to eternity.
that's a tricky one.
It's a tricky title. Great title.
Back to From Here to Eternity.
Indeed. The set was rife with love affairs and drinking binges. Binge drinking? Fucking. Deborah Carr and Burt Lancaster were romantically involved on set, and Sinatra, Clift, and the author would often go on long drinking binges. One of the scenes with Montgomery Clift's character being drunk actually had Montgomery Clift being drunk.
Ugh. Sounds horrifying.
It does.
Especially if you have to do multiple takes, and those lights are hot, and it's, oh boy.
And also the word on the street was that Sinatra was in a very bad place career-wise, both...
Because I believe he was right in the middle of his divorce from Ava Gardner.
Which was, according to a Sinatra documentary I watched, that was a very contentious relationship, and he was not feeling very good about himself at the time. So he was not doing well, and this movie really helped him out on that note. Despite all of the off-screen shenanigans and personal heartaches, the movie opened to rave reviews and box office. 13 Oscars nominations, 8 wins. Statuettes went home. One of the only films to have nominations in all 4 acting categories. Sinatra, Donna Reed, taking home supporting actor and actresses statues respectively.
So yeah, it's a tough feat to pull off, where you get one actor in every category. So you gotta do your campaigning right, because you're like, well, this one's the supporting role, this one's the lead.
And this is a time when the campaigning wasn't like the campaigning is now.
Not even close.
But this movie is included on AFI's top 100 movies of all time, currently ranked at 52, although I don't expect you to see it if you're military. The Army and Navy banned the movie to being shown to servicemen. I wonder if that ban has been rescinded in the day of the modern...
hard to say.
You know,
I can't imagine a modern military man thinking that this would be their movie to watch, though.
Maybe. I mean, it's about a romanticized time.
It is.
Right? Glorious wars.
I mean, I haven't watched it yet, so, we'll see.
We will see. As of this recording, you will see that this film is available on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital HD purchase in the United States. I guess we should say that because we don't really check international rights, because I really don't know how to do that. But find it. This movie's available. It's a classic.
Readily available.
Thought to be a classic. Kev, have you heard of and seen this classic?
I've heard of it, never seen it, know nothing about it. So going in blind. Here.
Samesies. This is an Emily. Let's just put the fucking cards on the table. Emily picked this movie. This is a total Emily style movie.
Old Hollywood, big romance.
She's a fan of the big budget sweeping romance films, a genre often associated with the golden age of Hollywood, but pretty much disappeared as romantic movies are not big budgeted anymore. Big budget movies are...
I would say the last one was probably like The English Patient.
Sure.
Or something like that.
Sure.
So,
right.
And that won Best Picture, and then, that was kind of it.
Are you a fan of this kind of movie? You're Gone with the Winds, your et cetera.
They're a little bloated, I think.
Yeah.
They're kind of a producer's dream run wild a little bit. Just lots of money being thrown at something that maybe doesn't need a lot of money thrown at it. So, and honestly, I haven't seen a whole lot of them. So, but the ones I've seen, I haven't really connected with.
Like all genres of film, I have nothing against this, and I am willing to accept into my heart a good one, right? What does good mean? I don't know. I'm not familiar with it. My TMC movie watching was more like westerns and boy shit.
Yeah.
I want to watch The Beast from 30,000 Fathoms. I'm not really interested in sweeping romances, but, I'm definitely going into this clear eyes, clear heart, can't lose.
I want to be swept up in it. That seems to be the
That's our expectation. Yeah, I'm with you. I want to...
We want to feel the romance.
Yeah, I want to enjoy it, basically.
For sure.
And, I mean, that's why Emily chose it, to expose us to a movie of this nature.
And Frank Sinatra is a halfway decent actor.
Well, I was gonna say.
And I believe this is probably his first movie, right?
No. He's been doing shit. He did All in the Town. He did a bunch of shit before this.
See, I don't
So
know.
that's the thing is that he's because I don't think people really understand this, because I think the common perception of Frank Sinatra is like his Vegas era, right?
Yeah.
Like him in the Rat Pack, just drinking all morning, staying up partying all night, throwing some shows in there in the middle,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, Sinatra started off as like, he was like not even just Justin Timberlake. It takes from the Sinatra playbook, right? He was the first teen idol.
Yeah.
The Bobby Soxers and shit. He was playing vaudeville stages, and it was like Comic-Con Hall H, where it's like all the teen girls would just sit there bored through the fucking Mimax and the comedy and the fucking everything else, right? The shows, and then Sinatra comes and plays, and they all lose their fucking minds.
Yep.
So he had really come up, transcended that persona, got into his young man persona, went into movies, doing a lot of musicals and stuff. And I like the musicals that precede this, On the Town being my favorite musical, which is a real fun movie. God damn it. God damn you.
We'll have to watch it.
Yeah, it's really fun. There's a weird scene where they're playing with some African drums that kind of crosses over into like maybe bad taste.
A little playful racism.
Yeah.
Naive racism.
Yeah. Definitely like if it, I don't know if that scene is racist or not, but if it is naive racism, right? Where it's like, we're making like,
Is it Mickey Rooney
noises?
and Breakfast at Tiffany?
No.
Well, then
That's not that. Yeah. And then so now he's on the career decline, and so it's interesting because I do think that he's a good actor and he's in some good movies. He's also in some real garbage.
He's in some stinkers, but the original Manchurian Candidate, tip top, and
Tasty.
he's great in it. So
I think we've covered it.
Yeah.
So let's just fucking get into this thing.
let's just put on our Hawaiian shirts and get in the water.
Here we go.
Or would you take off a Hawaiian shirt and get in the water?
Oh, well,
You can do either.
it depends. How
They're versatile shirts.
and how drunk are you?
I'm like 4 Mai Tais in.
But before we get into it real quick, there's nothing that spells out trouble in my mind. When you see a guy, usually portly, usually with a beard, usually bald, with a martini, in his shorts and his button-up shirt in a pool.
Oh yeah.
Where he's just like,
that's a bad look.
that's a bad look, right?
Yeah.
And then people are always like, hey, do you want to like put on your swim trunks? And he's like, nah. I'm not saying I've seen that. I'm not saying I've seen that a lot, and I'm not saying it's ever really gone wrong when I've seen it. But I'm just saying I feel like that could go wrong at any minute.
It's a dicey situation.
Dicey situation indeed. Snake eyes. Here we go. And we're back. Kev, how'd you watch this movie when you watched the movie?
We are back. Got it on Amazon Prime.
Oh.
Rented it $4 for HD. Although I could have saved $1 SD because, it's an old movie. It's black and white. It's in 4:3.
Right.
It was not enhanced by the HD experience.
That restoration
could have
was...
saved that $1.
Yeah, the restoration, not really.
Yeah.
I got it from the library on digital versatile disc,
Very good.
DVD. Watched it this week. Kev, what'd you think?
Remember when I said Bone Tomahawk was the worst movie we ever did on this podcast? It has been supplanted by From Here to Eternity.
That is very interesting. One, because if you could revisit our Bone Tomahawk episode, I disagreed with you then.
Yep.
And just like I disagreed with you then, I'm gonna disagree with you now.
All right, that's
Because
fine.
I will not say this is definitely not the. Also, your hatred for Bone Tomahawk I think it's because you've blocked out Batman vs Superman in your mind.
Maybe.
And I think if one day you're gonna be stuck on a really shitty airline for some reason, and it's gonna be the thing where you can only watch one movie,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be Batman vs Superman. You're gonna be like, no, that was the freaking worst
All
movie.
right. I mean, it's up there, but no, this.
So wait, you're saying for the record, Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice is a better movie made than this movie.
Yes.
You're crazy.
We're gonna talk.
The
we're gonna
romantic
find out why.
The romantic subplot in Batman vs Superman is worse than the romantic subplot in this. I said it, but I thought this movie was really well made, and like a lot of movies we've done this podcast, Halloween comes to mind. You see that people are copying this when they make other movies, and they don't do it as well.
Okay.
Right? They think like, oh, if we have a sexy scene on a beach, we'll be like Year of Eternity. It's like, no. I will say this movie is not perfect. and does not play perfectly for our modern sensibility. But I do think it was made with a very modern sensibility, and I want to get into it. But you elaborate on your thoughts.
The sex is not sexy.
That's true. Well, hold on. That's definitely no. Sorry, I said that's not true. That is true. The sex is definitely not sexy.
The romance is not romantic because all of these people are terrible.
That is also true.
It is an epic with no scope. This movie feels very small, but it should soar. It is.
I agree with that too. It is a small movie. It's a very. It's not like a one-room movie, but it might as well be.
It might as well. It's like a 2.5-room movie.
Right.
That they try to make an action movie at the end.
Yes. And we can get into that. We can get into that sequence in a minute.
I'm not saying you have to have likable characters to make a strong movie. There are plenty of movies that, Reservoir Dogs being one that comes to mind. Nobody's really likable in that movie, but it's a great film. But nope, there's nothing to latch on to here. I don't care about any of these people. The way it is made is completely perfunctionary. It feels like a stage play. There's no touch of cinema in it, I don't think.
Oh, strongly disagree.
We'll get there.
We'll get
into that.
I'm just going to comment on all of your sentences.
And it is a slog to get through, even though it's only 2 hours.
Is this because, like the guy who verbally accosted us on the street outside the Cinema Family, you can't get behind any movie where the veterans are bad people?
Quite the opposite, but these ones are...
I'm not sure if we talked about that on the podcast, but we were outside...
We mentioned it on one of our previous episodes.
Quick recap. Long story short, we're on the street. Some guy's asking us, now that California's legalized weed, where do we get weed? We're rolling 5 dudes deep. None of us knew. And then he was talking about how he didn't like Don't Breathe because the bad guy was a veteran, and that quote doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Which, like, that's the whole point, is that he's someone that you feel bad for because he's a veteran, but turned out to be a bad guy. And also, newsflash, people are people. So, like, there are good priests and bad priests, good cops and bad cops, good veterans and bad veterans, good women and bad women.
Yep.
Etc., 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 all the way down the line. He acted like the movie was like, and all veterans left to torture women. It's like, well, that's not true.
Quite the opposite message from Don't Breathe.
Yeah.
So also go see Don't Breathe. Great movie.
Yeah. Available now on your favorite DHD platforms.
Get it.
Blu-ray and disc. Okay, so we're gonna I think we'll just talk through this all. So it talks about in terms of how the movie is made. I get it that the characters are not sympathetic. They're all very flawed characters.
Yeah.
I will say the movie feels small in scope because I think that is intentional because they are all trapped in their little world, right?
Sure.
The main dude is trapped in his misery because he killed a guy and then he lost his bugle seat, and he's just
blinded a guy.
Yeah.
In boxing.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, blinded a guy in boxing, lost his bugle seat because of politics, and he's just he loves being a serviceman, but he hates the politics of the army.
Yeah.
And then you got the other dude who works hard, but I think it's a very mature storyline, especially for this time where he works hard and he likes his job, and he doesn't necessarily want to go. He doesn't want to go above his job, so he's trapped, right? He doesn't want to be an officer. He likes being an enlisted man, but he hates working for officers, and so it's interesting. He's trapped in his own bro, and I feel like that is a thing that lots of people deal with, right? Where it's like,
sure.
You or I or someone else, especially people living in this town, have a job and we want to succeed at that job and we take pride in our job, but it's like, but at the end of the day, I'd rather be making a podcast, or at the end of the day, I'd rather be a fucking movie star, right? I'd rather be an actor or whatever, whoever's goal is whatever, right?
Drinking Mai Tais at the tiki bar.
Sure. I mean, I'd rather be, me personally, I'd rather be sitting on this couch doing nothing all day. So it's like, it's hard to be like, I want to move up because I want to make more money, but I don't really want more work. I don't want to be dealing with my work on non-workout. You know what I'm saying? Like,
true.
So I feel like
there's the balance there.
Sure.
It's why you have to pay a football coach $6 million because they're insane people and want to work like 100-hour weeks.
That's a thing too. It's like I think we really romanticize like being the president. And it's like, that's a terrible job.
It's a shitty job, as our new president's going to discover pretty quickly.
I wish that the old presidents just made a YouTube video where they're like, listen, kids, I don't want to tell you what you don't want to do and do want to do, but being president sucks. Yep. Everybody hates you, no matter what you do.
Yep. I bet Obama smoked a big fat doob when he got to Palm Springs. I bet he did.
Well, that's another thing. There ain't no drug testing for president, so I want to know. I don't want to know what's going down. You know what I mean?
He certainly wasn't the first one. So
I mean, listen, when Nixon was visited by Elvis, I mean, they did Quaaludes in the fucking Oval Office bathroom, right?
Oh yeah, you know they did. So everybody did.
Okay, so I want to get your opinion on this. And I know you didn't like the movie, but you have to acknowledge there's very little score in this movie.
Yeah, it is extremely quiet.
And I feel like that's a bold choice, right? Because then you got to set the tone with pacing, acting, writing, cinematography, and lighting, as opposed to just conveniently,
Exactly.
This is an up scene, up music. This is a down scene, down music. Now, in the romantic scenes, they do sprinkle some
you get your old Hollywood kind of strings in there,
which I feel like is a bizarre choice because it
doesn't fit in with the rest of the movie. Like, this is a very stark, cold romance,
and I feel like from a craft standpoint, that's because if they didn't have that music there, I think the movie would just be the ultimate tragedy, right? Because it's just like this girl's cheating on her husband with one of his employees, basically.
But then he's already like eyeing this other girl that he wants to cheat on with because he hates his wife, and it's all. These are some nasty people.
Yeah, well, it's very true. But also, basically, when he was going after the wife of his boss, I was just like, I literally was like, no, don't, no. Literally, I was like, don't do it. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Lord. But I don't know. You didn't like? Did you like that on that technical side where they don't have that much score? I thought that was cool.
Well, as you were saying, they have to supplement that with, you said, acting, cinematography, all that stuff kind of needs to lift that up, and I don't think they do that at all. Camera is there because it had to be. Mm-hmm. They don't try and. I feel like they're not. He just kind of points and shoots, and it's always at kind of the same level.
I don't know if that's true.
It's just everything is just like looking straight at everything. There's just no cinema to this thing. I don't know, and the lighting is just even on everything. There's not a lot of shadows.
Yeah, also,
there's not this.
Also, if
there's nothing moving this thing along.
If this podcast is nothing else, it is an indictment on movies that don't have dynamic lighting, which apparently is your pet peeve, sir.
They don't need it.
That was your same problem.
Something interesting.
That was your same problem with Bone Tomahawk. That was your exact same problem with Bone Tomahawk.
If every scene looks the same, then it's like, come on, work it out.
Well, it's an interesting point because
you plop the camera in the same position every time and just like, let's do a shot and let's go to lunch. And then do another shot.
I'm gonna butcher this whole thing, but I believe a French director, French New Wave. I'm gonna say Godard because why not?
Sure.
Said, and this is not the exact quote. I'm gonna butcher this part of it too. That cinema is not truths at 24 frames per second. Cinema is lies that feel like truths at 24 frames per second, right? Because when you talk about your life, it's like, we've been to enough people's shitty houses built in the 80s, right? Where it's like, the lighting in this house is terrible. It's all, even throughout the whole thing, it's all very dim, right? So it's like, in a movie, what feels real is kind of the opposite of reality, right?
Exactly.
So it's interesting because
that's why when you just point a camera and shoot at your unlit house, it looks like garbage on camera. But you have to put up a light and a kicker and a fill and a glam ball, and then when you shoot it, this looks real.
Mm-hmm. What about the humor in this movie? Did you find yourself?
No.
Because
one here, there are not very many chuckles at this sad sack story.
There's a good joke where when the dude shows up with a date and then she's like kind of getting on his case and he's like, hey, I did all of this and I got here on time and you're giving me the third degree? I thought that was funny. I also like it crosses over into melodrama, and it
crosses over into melodrama.
Well,
it is a melodrama. By definition of a melodrama.
Sure, but every time not every scene is like melodrama, right? Like, for example, they want him to be a boxer, and then they're like fucking with him, so they trip him when they're doing like the army thrusting with the fucking bayonets. And Sinatra's like, hey, I saw what you did there. And then there's this fade to them running, getting punished for talking back. Right? That's like a not melodramatic scene. When it goes into hardcore melodrama, every time anyone argues over their relationship,
which is 90% of the movie.
Out of nowhere, they're making out on the beach, fucking sexy as shit, right? Like, that's how it's being presented. And all of a sudden he's like, how many guys have you fucked? And it's like, bro, fucking, you have no game, bro. You got no game.
Yeah. And she's like, I don't love you. I don't love you. And then they just kiss.
Well, that's an interesting thing, too. I think it took me the majority of the movie, and it's like, because at first I thought the dude was getting revenge on his boss by fucking his wife. And then it's like, oh, it's like love at first sight. You know what I mean? But they're both fighting it. It's very I feel like that whole thing is understated. And then it kind of, as the movie goes along, you kind of fill in the gaps where it's like, you don't know what their motivations are. And I feel like then they kind of fill them in later. You know, it seems like at first they're just trying to get revenge or something. And then later it's like, oh no, we actually like each other. But then, you know, life gets in the way. And I thought that was really a bold choice. But yeah, man, a lot of mood spoiling in terms of we're hanging out, it's great, and then someone has to just go off the fucking rails.
Pull a knife or throw a chair.
Who you been fucking?
Yep. Just these people have no game.
Oh,
they must have island fever, something fierce.
Also, another. I don't care what you say. This line was hilarious when they're getting the Pearl Harbor scene. Let's talk about this really quick. Okay. There's it's real weird tonally, right? Because that's not to play the 9/11 card, but that's the 9/11 of that time, right? It's an attack on America. So they're showing it, and they're showing it pretty seriously at first, right? Like there's a really stark scene where a guy's running and he's like, "They're attacking us. Those aren't our planes." And then it's like, and the guy gets mowed down.
Yeah,
and that's like, oh my god. And then I think Montgomery Clift is the actor. I'm getting them confused now, but he's like, go to your bunks, get your guns, blah, blah, blah. You know, there'll be plenty of time to fight, whatever. And it turns into this rah kind of thing. And then they're like, they go to the armory, and the guy's like, I need an order from an officer to open this thing. He's like, can't you use your eyes? Like, let's see what's going on. He's like, I won't do it, blah, blah. And then he's like, I'll see it that you get a medal. And then they all grab him, boys, and they all grab him. That's a fucking funny line.
That's a good line. I'll give you that. I will say, overall, the Pearl Harbor segment is done fairly well in terms of it's a bigger scope, and he's able to get into a more action mode and really sells like, oh, these people are being attacked right now.
And the action scenes are shot really well, where the planes are going low and you can see them coming and they're firing, and they have all of the squibs going off really, really well. None of that ever feels like, here's a shot of a plane, here's a shot of a guy shooting a gun.
Although there's a couple of real obvious stock footage.
Yes. But those never take place on the base. Those are always like the harbor or something else. So I think it works in that way where it's not like they're not asking you to think this footage is the same as the footage we've been watching this whole movie. This footage is clearly something different.
Yeah, but it's not integrated really well. It's like we're here on the thing, and then we'll get some stock footage, and then we go straight back to these. Like we don't get. There's no flow to that. It feels like it's just plopped in there to be like, this is what happened, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that
and then again you look at it and you go, that's stock footage.
Sure.
And you're instantly out of the story.
I mean, I think it's more news footage than stock footage, but you know, I think it adds to a sense of realism. I think that movies about tragedies sometimes do that. I feel like like a behind enemy lines or whatever, you know, like they'll show like actual news footage, like people are like watching CNN on that actual day, you know, kind of thing. Maybe behind enemy lines is not my best defense, but I don't know, man. I just feel like being shot. I feel like they do a good thing where people will say lines and they will allow the actors to react. And I felt like I really like that from a filmmaking point of view. Like, you know, he's like, you know, back to that line. He's like, you getting mad at me? All of this because I was on time. It cuts back to her face, and you see her upset, and then you see her kind of lose that upset and smile, and you know, it's like the storytelling of like, oh, you know, like that joke disarmed her.
Okay.
I thought that was handled really well.
I don't know. I just feel like everybody's kind of sleepwalking through this movie. I think
I don't know, man. Also,
and then
the confrontation at the bar, that was a great scene.
That is some of the worst sound design I've ever heard.
What?
When he hits him with the chair and it's like,
listen, homie,
you gotta fucking like it's gotta be an impact, and it's just like.
Have you ever seen a video or been there when someone gets hit with an object?
Yeah.
It always doesn't sound like you think it does.
But it sure as shit doesn't sound like.
I saw this video on Instagram of a guy was on a bike and he got hit by a car, and the two dudes were arguing, and for some reason the guy who was in the bike had a hammer, and the guy in the car was like kind of like yelling at him, and then he kind of made this like lunge move, like the way like a dog would like, you know, and the dude's like, like, don't you fucking do this to me, don't you fucking whatever. And the dude bent over, who had lunged at him, bent over and like offered his head, and the dude hit him in the head with a hammer.
Jesus.
And it made
a sickening thump. I would imagine.
well, it made you. It was the noise was like this unbelievable non sequitur noise. It was like nothing I've ever heard. I would think it would sound like a coconut being hit with like a hammer, but it didn't sound like that. It sounded. I couldn't even describe to you how it sounded. So that thumped to me, and also the fact that he hit him with a stool and he didn't go down. I was just like, oh shit, because I've never hit anyone with a stool, but I gotta think if I hit someone really hard and they didn't go down, that'd be a real panicky moment, right?
Yeah,
Where you're just like, oh, I thought you would be like maybe dead when I did this, and the fact that you're just alive and very upset with me, not good.
There's just no dynamics in that scene whatsoever. It feels very flat and hollow.
It's
not interesting.
I gotta disagree with you, homie. Also, when he's like, "All right, Fats, you want to take it to life and death," and he smashes the bottle, it's almost like it was a weird political statement, right? Where it's like, and we're gonna get political now because it's my podcast and it's our podcast. We can do whatever we want. But when people are like, everyone should be also, do you know Reagan is the reason why you can't have a concealed weapon in California?
Really?
Yeah, he passed that law, and he was very like, no, this is a good law. An average citizen will not be affected in any way by this. Interesting, because I was
as idolized as he is.
And again, on Instagram, this dude, for some reason, it gives me in my like search feed, it'll give me like really pro gun shit, and then like pro gun shit, people will like my videos for some reason. I'm like, what are you doing here? But this guy was like, oh, we're here in California because we can't carry guns or whatever. But it's like, so you're saying that you want people just to be able to engage in random shootouts if they feel threatened? Like,
yeah.
I feel like that's a real disconnect from reality.
Remember that scene in Reservoir Dogs when everybody was pointing a gun at each other and they all felt so safe?
Also, remember like anytime you've ever gone to a bar late at night and people act hella stupid?
Yep. Let's
not add guns to that equation.
That's bad news bears.
Political reign over. But I like that how the guy was like, you put that knife down. All right, fatso, you want, I think he's something to the effect of like, you want death, I'll give it to you. And he smashes a bottle. I love that escalation of like, you're making this about life and death, bro. Like, know that you're doing that. And then he does. And then later they pay that off when Fats gets the little shankity shank shank.
Gets the shank. Old Ernest Borgnine gets the...
Is it Ernest Borgnine? Oh, it is Ernest Borgnine.
He looks weird with a crew cut.
He looks weird with a crew cut, and he looks weird in a Hawaiian shirt.
Yes, he does.
We have the Poseidon Adventure over here, which I believe he is also in.
He's also in that. He's also in Escape from New York.
Oh, Cabby!
He's the cab driver. Yep.
Cabby,
the
yes.
great Ernest Borgnine. He's a fun old actor.
Can I, now that we're just talking about things we don't like, can I tell you that I just don't connect with Escape from New York?
That's fine.
I feel like it's a great idea. It's just in execution, it just, when we get to the boxing match, I'm like, what are we doing? Why do they have a boxing ring?
Why do they have a boxing ring in this movie from here to eternity?
Well, it's about
Is there
boxing.
Underground boxing going on? Military branches? I don't know.
No, underground.
That seems pretty...
No, they have boxing. They have boxing leagues. They have like like the Army Academy has a football team. You know what I mean? Army versus Navy.
For sure. Way to go, Army. They beat Navy.
Also, if there's any football game I'm least interested in, it's Army versus Navy.
That game this year was pretty great, actually.
Listen,
I will say.
I'm sure it was, but that rivalry doesn't make any sense to me. Sports rivalries in general, I don't understand.
Hey, Vice has a new show coming up just about that.
Sports rivalries?
Sports rivalries.
About how dumb they are, or what?
Just looking at historic ones and seeing how they formed. And...
There's a weird... Okay, so this is the comedian Matt McCarthy. Shout out Matt McCarthy. And he has a new 7-inch available online. Look it up. And it's also on Spotify, where he talks about how everyone says wrestling is fake. And he's like, yes, wrestling is fake, but everything is fake. Sports are fake. And to paraphrase his little stand-up comedian act, and I don't like basing my life off of things especially designed just to make you laugh, right? Because people look for a lot of truth in stand-up, but it's just to make you laugh. But it's like people are like, oh, especially with college football, like, oh, we have a good team this year. No, you don't own the team. You're not part of the team. You're not part of the league. No. And it's like the Rams, like, oh, the LA Rams. Not the LA Rams. They moved. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like, the San Francisco 49ers don't play in San Francisco.
Dallas Cowboys don't play in Dallas.
What are we talking about? What the fuck are we talking about? Anyways, that's my...
Captivates millions, though.
The point is, love that pro wrestling. Also, I do want to shout out when the Pearl Harbor goes down and that dude is going back. He's like, I gotta go back to the army or whatever, and his girlfriend is crying. I mean, that actress is selling that shit hard.
Yeah.
That was a real emotional. Like, oh my god! Like, I believe that she's very upset about this.
Yeah. I don't know. At that point, I just didn't care about anybody or anything. These people are so polarizing and cold, and they give you no reason to care about what they're going through. I think
I can support.
And that's why I can't. And then you pile that on with the lack of cinema in this thing, and just I don't know. It's just a bad stew all around. For me.
I can concede to what you're saying in the sense of like, have you ever read that book, Ernest Hemingway, The Sun Also Rises?
Yeah.
I hate that book. And I find it, for the same reasons that you don't like this movie, right? Where it's like, unlikable people doing unlikable things unlikably. There's nothing for me to like in this. So I get what you're saying. If you find the movie that way, there's nothing else to it. There's no, if you felt the same way about, let's say, like an action movie or a horror movie, there's like other elements of it that you could attach yourself to, or like a sci-fi movie, right? You're like, I hate these characters, but I love that damn robot, But this movie, as just a straight drama, right? If you don't like the drama, there's nothing to save you.
There's nothing in there besides that.
And then I guess in this one, it crosses over into a war movie, but that's really like the last bit of it.
Oh yeah, it's they did it because they almost had to. And we were talking.
It's interesting because I think I like the melodrama part, and you like the war movie part, and I think we don't like. We both
but
have
there were
issues
parts
with
of the war
part.
movie part I had issues with, like
sure.
The stock footage is plopped in there. So why is Frank Sinatra's character even in this movie?
I mean, he does. If you took him out, I mean, it
I think you lose nothing if you.
Well, then why does? But then it doesn't. It affects the ending, right? Because why would he kill Fats and get stabbed by Fats? You know what I mean? I mean, plot wise.
But no, Frank Sinatra doesn't get stabbed by Fats.
No, the other dude.
The other dude.
Yeah. So he would have no beef with Fats unless you know what I mean. So from a plot perspective, that that's the inevitable place we end up, and without Frank Sinatra, we never get there. It also shows like, I don't know. I mean, it's. This movie is a tragedy, right? So it kind of plays into that thing of like, there's no winning. I mean, it's a really dark movie.
It is.
I was gonna save this for the end, but I get why I like this movie. I do not get why AFI likes this movie, right? I don't get why. I don't get why people who are fans of classic movies
like this movie,
because it's a real hopeless movie.
It is pitch black.
Because Sinatra's character dies trying to defy the army.
He's just a drunk and
right.
Doesn't really do anything. It is this meek little guy, and then he dies. Right,
and I mean, he is a supporting character in the literal definition of it, right? He only exists in the movie to support our main dude. He's his friend, his ally. You need someone for him to be in the shit with. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And he sticks up for him and stuff. But yeah, and then our other. We're doing a terrible job of attaching actors to names and stuff. But I'm not gonna stop ranting right now to look it up.
I mean,
but
the main guy's Burt Lancaster. The older dude is Montgomery Cliff.
So Montgomery Cliff, fucking
he's Dynamite, Captain Dynamite. Also, what a great name, Captain Dynamite.
Yeah, so good. He basically walks away from this relationship by his own choosing, right? He's like, we're just not compatible because my life is my job. Yeah. And it's a really weird statement, where he walks away from love, basically.
True.
Because she could get divorced and he could go find her.
But I'd walk away from her. She's a nagging old shrew, man.
Hey, man, you saw her in that swimsuit.
I don't marry an officer. It's like, good, fuck off. Go find an officer to ruin his life.
So we talked about all the things that you really didn't like about this movie. Are there any really small nitpicks that you didn't like?
One of my biggest nitpicks, of movies in general. Somebody's playing guitar and they're clearly not playing their guitar. Don't like it. Yeah. Now I think in the one scene where it's closer on his hands, it looks more accurate when he's playing. Also, that song he plays is really good. Putting that in cool stuff. The recruitment blues or whatever.
Yeah. Reenlistment blues.
Great little song.
It was
the reenlistment blues.
Yeah.
But the first time we see him playing guitar, he is not playing that guitar. And again, maybe I only noticed that because I play guitar, but it's not just this movie.
It's every movie.
Jersey Boys did, but I love it when in a movie like Sing Street, where
they're actually playing guitar.
they're playing and they're playing extremely well.
Yeah.
So So yeah, I mean that's a nitpick, but it's one of my bigger pet peeves in movies in general.
I don't really have any nitpicks. Like, there's no little thing that really bugged me. I think that's an interesting point, though. Like, it's kind of, it's a small thing, but it's just like,
Again, if you knew nothing about guitar, you wouldn't know.
and if it was like a small movie, you could kind of forgive it. Like, listen, they couldn't find an actor to play guitar. They couldn't really teach an actor to play guitar. They didn't have a lot of money. But on a big movie, it's pretty unforgivable, right? Where it's like, get fucking this dude some lessons. You know what I mean? But what can you do? In terms of cool stuff, I think Sinatra does a really good job acting. I think he really plays against his type of being like, Frank Sinatra. When you think about Frank Sinatra, he's a suave motherfucker. In this movie, he's a real goofball.
He is.
And I feel like he did a good job of just playing against the perception of himself.
I agree that he does good with what he's given, but I just don't see why the character even needs to be there.
Yeah.
So,
I also like how we both like that song, naturally. I like how they're cheating and they don't get caught. Like, he knows that his wife's fucking around with him on someone else, right? But he doesn't know it's this guy, and they never figure that out. And I like that, not because I'm, like, pro-cheating or anything, but just, it's a new take on that plot, not to have the caughtness being held over them. Like, we just watched Moonrise Kingdom, and, like, they get, not that they're cheating, but they get caught, and then they get caught. What's hanging over the movie is them never being able to be together from the perspective of authority. And no one has authority over them. So it really plays into the tragedy of them choosing not to be together. You know what I mean? I just feel like the love triangle, as I've said before and I'll say it forever, is just it's just something that's been done to death. It's been done to death, to death, to death. And
it's cheap drama.
Cheap drama. And I feel like them, and you had that scene where they almost got caught, but they don't ever get caught. And I just feel like that's the right decision in terms of cheating storylines, right? It's like, don't make it about the authority from society pressuring them. Make it about two people making a decision. Yeah, sure. Ideologically, principally.
Sure. Except they're two terrible people.
But that's the thing, though, right? So in another movie, two terrible people have the out of, my mom found out and she's guilting me, right?
Yeah.
These people don't have an out. Yeah. No one in this movie has an out. No one is absolved of anything.
Stuck on this island together with nothing to do.
Right, and no one to blame, right? It's like, so I like that. I just think that's
certainly an interesting concept, but I think
sure, if you don't think the execution of it works, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But I think just on principle, I think that with other movies, right? And name any other romantic comedy where someone is in a bad relationship and they find someone better and they find this love, and technically they're cheating, but the way that the movie is like, oh no, it's okay because this person is objectively bad and this person is objectively good. The Wedding Singer, right?
And Wedding Crashers.
Wedding anything. So yeah, I just think that it's a bold move. Bold move. In the end, I like this movie. Personally, I like it. I don't understand why the masses like it.
Would you ever watch it again?
I would, sure. Not tomorrow. You know what I mean? But I think filmmaking wise, there's some stuff that I'm really interested in. I'm interested in the non-score. I'm interested in people having to take responsibility for their own actions. There's things I would want to revisit from a filmmaking point of view. Is it like my favorite movie of all time?
No.
Of course not. It's a good movie for its time. I'm not enamored with it. I certainly, AFI top 52 on the AFI top 100. I kind of need more information, and I think a lot of it is contextual, right? Like, maybe no one.
That book was huge back in
right. Book was huge, and maybe
apparently a lot more risque than this movie. Well, like somebody's got gonorrhea in that book, and there's more. There's all kinds of stuff that like got neutered because of the code.
Got that dirty G.
Yep.
It's also interesting. I think that you see the effect of media that media has on people where it's they're all about, it's always about the good old days. Yeah. And it's like, if you read books from that time, you realize
people were fucked up.
Yeah, people have always been fucked up. That's the world,
That is the world.
And people didn't talk about it. It's funny, I read a detective book, and fictional, and they're talking about, oh, this is Broadway in downtown New York, like, but this is Broadway, like it's like, oh, Broadway has always been full of drunks and sad homeless people, like from the beginning of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Like, very sad. But what can you do? Kev, I take it you didn't like this movie, it didn't work for you. And that's okay.
It just felt very flat and unlikable for a movie that should have swept you up in some way. And I'm all for, you can have unlikable characters. They can even be cheating on each other or doing bad things. I think Mike Nichols is Closer is a good example of that. movie that works great. Yeah, this one just, it feels old and slow. It's not engaging. It's not dynamic. It's just a dull slog, and I did not like it.
Subjective art form. If you felt that way, you felt that way. And
It's why we're here.
It's why we're here. Nothing we can do about it other than convince you that you're wrong. No. Subjective art form.
If we all agreed, the world would be a boring place.
Indeed. So, on a scale of Janet Reno to Katy Perry, how girly is this movie?
This is kind of a Janet Reno, I think. There is no romanticism in this at all.
I will say that gender is fluid. This question is part of the patriarchy. You're a hate crime.
Yep, indeed I am.
Your whole existence, hate crime.
I await your tweets. Spoiler alert, I'm not on Twitter.
What manly thing are you going to do after we're done with this episode?
I'm going to pick my toe with a knife.
Gross.
Manly.
I'm just gonna grab my purse and buy some shoes. Manly shit.
At a boy.
That's it for us. This episode written by Kev, music by Jeff Russell. I am your host, Mr. Jibber Jabber. That's Kev.
That's me.
You keep being you. PSA: if you're gonna do the nasty on the beach, be wary of salt, be wary of sand, be wary of crabs, be wary of those little fish.
It is not as romantic as you think.
You know, it's a weird, the beach is a really, really beautiful place, you know, you're on the edge of civilization.
Go to the beach.
Love that beach. It's a real, religious experience, and you know, listen, people are half naked on the beach. You know, it can also be, I'm not denying it can be a sexy experience, but it takes a little bit more planning than just making out in this,
you can't have a tryst in the sand. You gotta really put the towel down and get in a good spot.
And it's also interesting, like, you know, a lot of Tristan movies don't take place in the sun, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, because the sun on the beach is pretty impressive. Not very sexy to be getting a sunburn. You know what I mean?
You do not want a sunburn on your junk. That's for sure.
So, that all being said...
Just PSA. We're here to help you.
Trying to. So that all being said, tune in next time.
We'll be here.
See you later.